Welcome to History at High Noon today. We're so glad to have everyone. The gentleman from Huxford Library is ill, so you got me today. I'm sorry. That's the way it goes. And then I had to figure out what I was going to talk about. We're going to go with it. But I did type my notes in large print so I could read them without having to put my glasses off and on. I'm going to start with a little bit of information about the Historical Society. Everybody says they know everything, and then when I say something, they say, I didn't know y'all did that. So that's what I'm going to start with today. We started in this version of the Coffee County Historical Society, started in 2013. Before that, Chris Tribal was president for one up until, I think, 82. I think was that last time. But anyway, it had died down and we started it back up. I did not know the reason the city was so adamant about having a historical society was they were trying to get somebody to manage the museum. And they thought the Historical Society would be the thing to do. I didn't know that either until Chris Tribal talked me into being president. Something else I didn't know it was a Supreme Court justice job and nobody wants it, so you have it till you die, or you leave, or maybe you go to federal prison, I don't know. But anyway, we started in 2013, and in 2014 we started managing the museum. Our purpose is threefold. Our bylaws. We collect, preserve, and disseminate. Collecting is easy. Everybody that loses a family member cleans out their house and brings us stuff. Now, I will grant you 10% of it is stuff I don't want. But I found TV guides. And when we set up this display and had a field trip, they'd never seen books like that before. That's the kind of thing that gets me excited about cleaning out somebody's things. I have 4 boxes that the Tribal family brought me that I haven't started on yet because I know it's going to be an immense undertaking. If you are 100 years old, you're an antique. If you're 50 to 99.999, you're vintage or collectible. I didn't set that standard, the Smithsonian did. That's how you verify whether it's an antique or a vintage item. We do have a few antique items in here, not very many, but we do have some. We get the preserve. We don't try to improve it. We don't have the funds or the skills. So when you bring in your great-grandmother's wedding dress, we do not have anyone that can restore it the way it was. What we try to do is to keep it from getting worse, which is astronomical task. Well, you'll get to the guidelines in a minute. Disseminating is the easiest thing in the world to do because anybody will come and say, Carol, can you come talk to the Lions Club? Can you come? Yeah, I can go talk to anybody. I'd probably even go speak at the Democratic convention. I probably would. I don't know, but I might. People say, well, what do y'all do? Well, you know we do History at High Noon. We also do rework exhibits. When I first came in 2014, every exhibit was exactly like it was in 1999 when the museum opened. And I was shocked. That never happens. From the first of every month, something is changed. It may be 2 pictures, it may be a book, it may be an article. There's always a change in an exhibit every month. Every 4 months we do a major exhibit across the front. Right now it's things that we enjoyed. Starting in November, the name of the exhibit will be The Women Did It. You'll have to come find out which women and what they did. We do a semi-annual newsletter to the members. We have field trips and group events. In September, I had 3 churches bring their senior groups in for a scavenger hunt and a social. We have field trips. I have special ed from the 9th grade academy coming in tomorrow. There's, in the fall especially, and then again in the spring, I get a lot of those kind of things. We participate in chamber events like Discover Douglas we recently had. We had a booth there to spread our information. We manage the museum for the city, and I have to do a monthly report of the money we take in at the door, the events we have, the number of people that were there, all that stuff. Financially, the city maintains the building and pays the light bill. Everything else is on the back of the Historical Society. We do some fundraisers, but mostly it's a membership thing. Membership ranges from $15 to $200. We do have some $15 members. My grandson Jake is one of them. Cheyenne joined the museum support in 2014. So children can do it, but they're up here with me all the time, so they feel like they're part of it. The membership is what keeps us going. That's what keeps us food at History at High Noon. That's what keeps us doing newsletters and mailing things and all that stuff. Mr. Bagley. Does everybody remember Mr. Bagley's junkyard on the Nichols Road? There's a cemetery there called the Ward Cemetery. And his daughter has given the management of that property to the Historical Society. So all the work that's been done there, we've done it. We had some trees that were about to fall. They were way too high and they've been chopped down. Henry Milholland, bless his heart, has worked diligently to those headstones. The roots and all underneath them had given way, so they were leaning and broke, but he's got them all up, all cleaned. We have other plans. The guy that bought the land behind us said if you just put a separation there. So we're going to put a little mini lattice fences and grow flowers, vines on those that way, and when I can plant. We're going to put some shrubbery. We're going to try to get grass to grow after we delimb some trees. It's just, we just want to keep it. It's too good of a historical monument for somebody to just let the ground and the grass and the weeds take over. And to me, a cemetery is holy ground, so you should definitely take care of a cemetery. There's an old pile of bricks there. A man's going to come get those and move those. He said when the weather was cooler. The next thing we do mostly is archive stuff. Archive. That room right there where the door's open that's usually closed, that's our archive room. We need one twice that size. But we also need other things too. We archive documents, records, and items about Coffee County history and the people. This is not a Douglas museum, it's a Coffee County museum. And I've tried to get the surrounding communities to participate by giving us information. And I always encourage people, if you have a family history, share it with us because we need to know. I get at least 2 phone calls a week from somebody going by the chamber wanting to know where they can find information on great-grandpa. Well, they send them to me. Well, if I don't have it, I don't have it. And there is no place except for the genealogy library at the Mormon Church for them to sit down and do it because there's not enough help at the Satilla Regional Library to get a novice through that. But this is one sheet of paper and this is an archive form. I'm going to pass it around and let you look at it. Every item in this museum has a form for it. Whether it's a lady's hairbrush, a man's tie, 1 can of Prince Albert, every item has a paper filled out with all this information. I have a volunteer, actually I have to pay her, she's my granddaughter, but anyway, she comes in and enters all this data in a file, because when we came in, they said, oh, all the paperwork is in the file cabinet. Well, the first 40 items I looked for, they weren't there. So from 2014 to 2022, we did those papers. And now we're in the process of putting them in the database. So when I die or get mad and walk out the door, the next fella can find out where the women's hats are. Just things as simple as that. Okay? Now then, I said before a while ago, we don't try to make it better. We prevent it from rotting, basically. That's what we do. And as someone who loved history, I had never fine-tuned how you would save it. So the first thing I did was attend a conference by the Georgia Association of Museums on preservation. And then I told them that our museum was in an old train depot. And he said, how many humidifiers do you have? I said, none. Is it insulated? I said, no. I said, the floor, wooden floor, is 4 inches off the dirt. And he looked at me as if I had lost my mind. I said, I didn't plan it. This is what I've got. Okay? But I'm glad we have this facility, but it is not the most optimum choice for preservation. Just saying. First of all, temperature should never be below 72 and never over 75. So when I get a call from the city about a $3,000 light bill, I said, I'm sorry. This is what you gave me to work with. Humidity must be less than 65%. And I asked the city to purchase, this is several years ago, humidifier monitors. Don't have any. The reason this all has to be exact, insects don't thrive if there's not enough moisture and heat. Now I still have the rats, but they don't get bothered by that. Pest management, we get it sprayed once a month, but if you'll go in there and look on that kitchen cabinet right now, you can see it doesn't do a real good job. Pollutants. Pollutants come, I said, well, we don't use chemicals in the museum. And this is where your husband laughed at me when I told him this. He said, Carol, there's pollutants in hand soap. I thought, oh crap, something else I got to learn about. We bought specialized white gloves, and we bought special soap to wash things with and to wash those gloves with. Because if you use lotion or bar soap or body soap, whatever, it's on you. So when kids come in for a field trip, I said if it's wood or glass, you can touch it. That's it. If it's wood or glass, you can touch it. And they go around like, what's this, what's this? But everything we use in society today, unless you have some great immunology problem, everything has chemicals in it. Everything. Handling procedures, we are very, very careful. Mr. Womack's students came in and was helping us do some of these forms a couple of years ago, and I had to teach them how to handle things. And you just can't do it like this. No, 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 no. It was a 100-year-old newspaper. Pick it up very gently, balance it, you know, those kind of things. And I never would have thought of that before. It never would have crossed my mind. I just thrown it in a pile. Paper is the most difficult thing to conserve, and I was shocked. Paper quality has not always been the best. You had the best, you had the worst, you had the best, you had the worst. The best temperature to store paper is 35 to 65 degrees. Humidity for paper is less than 50%. So what you've got at grandma's and grandpa's, will go down and down and down, and there's nothing you can do about it. When I was a kid, remember these picture albums? You see the glue on these picture items? Do you know what happens when you try to take a picture out of these picture items? Actually, you will find somebody has written on some pictures and it bleeds through the glue. But we did this. So when you bring me these, I can't do nothing with them. I can put them on a shelf and that's it. Okay? Also, scrapbooks. I got a scrapbook in the 5th grade when I won the spelling bee at West Green. I used Scotch tape and Elmer's glue. Oh, what a mess. Oh, what a mess. But nobody does any of this anymore. You don't even think about it. When you go buy a photo album, do you look for one that is archive safe? Somebody said, why do you save pictures? I said, one thing we have learned in the museum, Mr. Trowell offered me all of his research. Every bit of Chris Trowell's research. It was on 5 1/4 computer disc. Tom Johnson took some to us to Georgia Tech. And they sent back, I'm so sorry. We can't get it. We can't get anything back. Format makes all the difference in the world. If you think when beta was, oh please, I had 100,000 beta tapes at Coffee High School because that's all we had. Never once did I think, transfer them. But that's what you have to do with technology formats anyway. There'll come a day where everything you need will be carried around on a little card about this size. But right now we've got to try to save what we can. Okay? If y'all have questions, just butt in. It won't bother my hands at all. We use a special adhesive at the museum. It's created. It's called museum wax. And you can take it off with a little butter knife, and it doesn't leave a stain or any of that kind of stuff. And we also have a special spray adhesive. It's not the kind you can buy at Walmart, but a spray adhesive, but it's only for temporary. Another thing about humidity and temperature, nothing stays stuck up very long in this room. Because it goes, you walk in one day and it'll be on the floor, and you have to put it back up again. To clean things, we don't put them in the dishwasher. If it's china, glass, ornaments, anything like that, rubbing alcohol, I know it's chemical, but it doesn't leave anything. If you're going to do it, use rubbing alcohol or distilled water. I don't know about you, but I lived in the city for a long time. I still don't drink their water. When I lived on Dewey Avenue, we'd go eat lunch every Sunday with Mama, and I'd go get 2 gallons of water to bring home for the week. I am not drinking city water. Just don't like it. I can smell it. And when we did live, every once in a while they'd do a test or whatever, and you could turn on that faucet and it smelled like a gallon of bleach being poured out. So I don't drink city water. But anyway, don't use it in delicate things. Some things you can use a mild soap on with warm water, and you don't rinse it. You get a clean cloth, wet it with warm water, and wipe it off. You got to get the soap off. You can't leave any soap residue on anything. Furniture and any kind of wood, the go-to is Pledge. Throw it away. Don't use Pledge on antiques. Do not use anything but beeswax, and I'm going to massacre this next word, carnauba wax. I'll let you look at it and you see it. You let it sit, you rub it on, leave it there, and then gently wipe it off. If your antiques did not have a finish on them, Pledge doesn't do anything to save the wood. It saves the shine, but it does not help the wood. Wood will dry out. Even if it's got a surface on it of some time, it will dry out, and when it dries out, it's going to splinter or it's going to get beetles. So you need to be real careful with that. The hardest thing for me is clothing. I found a pink lace wedding dress from the 1880s in the museum when I came in here. There was a metal toolbox that had rusted and was sitting on top of that dress. There was nothing we could do. Nothing. Lace and silk, I don't care where you put it. Unless you have a cloth conservator, yes, there is such a thing, it will rot on its own. It will disintegrate like touching wet tissue paper. It'll just fly away, just flake. Found that out too. Have Mary Clyde Tanner's grandmother's flapper dress and her mink that she wore with it. And it's deteriorating, but there's nothing we can do about that. I mean, there's just little patches where it looks like somebody just cut it out or something, but it doesn't. Everybody wants to store something in this. What do you think would be a bad thing about storing something in this?
Sweat. It's wet, probably.
No, it's not going to get wet.
No sweat.
No, it won't sweat. No air gets to it.
Can't breathe. That's what I
It can't breathe. Any kind of cloth, leather, anything needs air. So when you got Grandpa's suit in one of those Earl Watkins bags, it ain't helping it. It ain't helping it. I know you do. It's all right. They do make bags now that are plastic on one side and weaved, woven, whatever you want to call it, on the back. So air does come through. If you have any kind of old clothing, like my little dress back there, if I wanted to freshen it up, take it outside, hang it in the shade, let it air out. You don't wash it unless you got special soap. Acid-free tissue paper. This was something else I was told to buy. I said, I can get tissue paper at Walmart. He said, it's not the same thing. And I have a roll in there we bought. If you wrap clothes in it, it makes the tissue paper at Walmart look like a quilt. It's so thick. This is, I can see myself through it. I mean, you can just look right through it. But it lets the air in and keeps the dust off. Dust is the worst thing for older clothes because you can't dust it off and you can't wash it off and it's just there. Another bad thing is sunshine. That's why I said hang it out in the day. Lori Kirkland O'Neill, excuse me. She has her great-grandmother's or great-great-grandmother's dress that she made for herself in 1882. And the Kirklands wanted me to send it off, and I sent it to a guy that dated it and told us what to do with it. And I gave him a list of what he told me to do. Then I borrowed the dress from Lori for an exhibit. And she brings it to me in an archive box and the tissue paper, but she had put duct tape all around that box. I said, the first thing you do when you get home, first take the box out of the attic and don't put it back in there. Second, take that duct tape off and I'll give you a new box. But people say she's saving it. She's trying to keep it safe, but she wasn't. Because that duct tape will hold the world together, but it won't save nothing. Stains and cleaning. If you have something precious to you, you can go online and find archivals. They call it spot remover. It's a very delicate little process, and it takes 7 or 8 times on one little dot to get it all off, and it turns out to be expensive. There was a place in Valdosta, I don't even know if it's still there or not, but it was there in 2014, that does archival care of cloth, whether it's a quilt or a bedspread or a dress, whatever. It ain't cheap. So you have to really like something first. You can hand wash some items like baby clothes. You can't bleach them white again. You have to be very careful. Use a mild soap and make sure you rinse it twice. Don't leave any soap residue on anything. Okay? Now then, I've told you all I know about trying to save history in Coffee County. So if you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Save the things that are precious to you. You don't have to save everything. That's my job. You can save things that are precious, but realize that, example, I have my son's baby clothes, some of them, and his little blanket. I said, Scott, do you want these? And I'm not going to use all the adjectives he used, but he said, what do I want them for? I said, I thought you might want them. No, I don't. I want Daddy's guns. I mean, you know, so just because you love it and you treasure it, your kids aren't going to care. I already know, probably while I'm at Sim's funeral home, Scott and Cheyenne will be throwing away all my books because you can't sell them and they don't burn good. But they can't touch them until I'm gone. And I told them they better wait a year in case I come back, just in case. But I get calls all the time. I've got Grandma's upright piano. I've got the old pedal sewing machine. So have I, 2 of them. You know, I've got a break front that was in the dining room. I said, how high is it? 12 feet. No, thank you. That's why the grandchildren don't want it. So you have to be realistic with what you love and want to take care of. Or you have to find somebody, like Leslie, that's got an old Victorian home that you can put big stuff in. Because houses nowadays don't have that option. Anybody got a question?
How old is this building?
This building was built in 1904. Started building in 1904. It was the became the Georgia-Florida Railroad Depot. This part was storage and warehouse. The offices were up in the front part. Did not have a lot of passengers on this rail line. Had a few, but not. Most passengers went on the SCL line, east and west. This is the only Georgia-Florida Railroad Depot left in Georgia. There's one in Florida and one here.
Georgia, Florida Railroad.
Huh?
Georgia and Florida Railroad.
Yep. And they had a little cafe across the railroad track. Questions?
I just want to know if something happens to Todd before you, will you come get the stuff from my house?
I'll be glad to. I tried to give him a cabinet back there, and he said Desiree would leave me.
Just come get it.
I'll make a little comment. For those of you who have your silver trays, I offered my daughter both of them silver trays. Come get what you want. They got what they wanted. So I tell the grandchildren, come get what you want. They got what they wanted, and I then tell the great-grandchildren, come get what you want. After they all got through getting what they didn't want, I carried it down to Joanne Hannah Lott, and she said, Miss Jerry, what I owe you? I said, not a thing. Throw it out if nobody wants it. But that's the way children are today.
We don't entertain like that. I got salt cellars, little bowls with little spoons that Grandma Ray had on her dining room table. Jake plays tea sets with it. When Morgan and Jake play, that's their cereal bowl when they play tea set. But I mean, we just don't entertain that way. I don't need Aunt Maybell's china, Grandma's china, Mama's china, my china. I got 3 sets now. I don't need any china. If you want to give me something, buy me a case of paper plates. Okay? I have got crystal. I have got those, remember those thumb glasses? They were on a pedestal and had the big tops. I got 12 of those. I don't know why. Nobody wants to hold them. But I mean, we've got all this stuff, but we don't use it anymore. But I try to say things simply because I know. Even Cheyenne says, those are so ugly. Like, well, yeah, okay. But in 50 years, somebody's going to want to know what they look like. And that's why I'm here, for as long as I'm here. I keep saying that because I keep getting the urge to close the door and not come back.
Please don't.
But anyway, that's what you have to look forward to, because they just don't want it. I go through my house once a year and clean out everything I don't need anymore, because I know if it's something good, they're going to throw it out anyway. So it doesn't matter. And I love, Larry and Linda brought me magazines. Kids don't know what a magazine is anymore, people. And they had the one where JFK was assassinated. All those, I got one with the fall of the Berlin Wall. I've got all, and I know that's not Coffee County history, but it affected us.
It would be interesting.
It is very, I love to go back. It's like reading old newspapers in Coffee County. I used to laugh because Grandma Ray wanted to read who ate dinner with who in Ambrose and Broxton and Nichols. You know, you had to know all that. They don't put that anymore because it's all, I don't even have my phone with me, it's all online. And some things they put online shouldn't be, and they should put other stuff on there. I got in trouble today on Coffee County Facebook page. Don't post something as if it's yours. This guy found the exact page out of the board's history of Coffee County and put it on Facebook. And all I asked him to do was say where he got it. Well, you know where he got it? Wikipedia. As a media specialist, librarian, and a historian, that ought to be illegal. Mm-hmm. Wikipedia, anybody can put anything in Wikipedia. Nobody allows that as a resource. Why wouldn't an adult use it as a resource? Anyway, that's my soapbox. So that's one thing we do. We do a lot of research. I'm always researching and doing, but I also try to verify. Just because Ms. Harper tells me that in Ambrose such and such happened, I'm going to go back and look and see if I can find anybody else that says that too. Because two people looking at the same thing don't see the same thing. We were going to Pearson one day. Well, we were going through Pearson to Valdosta to see Mama's cousin. And there was a log in front of us. And a limb came back and hit the windshield. I'm in the back seat reading. Didn't bother me. Joey said, I thought Mama was going to bleed to death. I said, what? She said her finger was just bleeding, and we did turn around and go back. But I was so big in my book, I didn't know. I knew Mom got her finger hurt, but I didn't know it was bleeding. So two people at the same place, the same time, see different things. And things I remember, like Masons, I started work at Masons one summer, and they had me. My job was to go up in the attic, get the stuff down they saved from the fire sale they had had before, and air it out so we could sell it that summer. Nobody else knows about that. I was the only one doing that. So I mean, it was just really strange that you're going to go back and things have been up there 5 years, you're going to sell them again. Okay, whatever. But those are the kind of things. Memories are wonderful, but I always try to document it at least with one other source. Yes, ma'am.
History should and needs to be preserved like it happened.
Exactly like it happened. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And see, the bad and the ugly are my favorite parts. I like about the man that was a drunk. I like about the woman that had a house of other women that men come to visit. I like those kind of things because it shows all sides of history. Everybody did not go to church every Sunday, pious and saintly and all that. They were human beings. And I kind of like the renegades, those that went a little out of the way. Don't follow this narrow path. Let's branch out a little bit. So I know y'all can't believe that if you know me. You just cannot understand why I'd be that way. But anyway, that's the way it is. But history, every little thing you learn or share is important to somebody, sometime, somewhere. Always is. My Grandma Ray always said, history remains a mystery until it becomes his story. So if you look at it as a story, and that's what I do with kids. I don't tell them all about Miss Ada Slater, but I tell her about her going shopping twice a year to New York for her wardrobe, and traveling. She had her child didn't live, so she took her nieces and nephews and raised them and did all. That's the kind of things I tell kids. It's a story. You can learn the facts later. You can look up a fact. I remember 2 dates from my history classes of all, and I had a minor in history. December the 7th, 1941, and September the 1st, 1939. September 1st, 1939, Germany invaded Poland and started World War II. December 7th, 1941, day which will live in infamy. That's when the United States had a backbone and something else. And something else. It was developed that day. But those are the kind of things. So you can look up when the Depression actually started or when it ended. But the stories you can't, because people don't share them. So, any other questions? Thank y'all for coming. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time. Next year. We're through.